Rand Water says that water in some of the affected areas in Johannesburg will be fully restored later today. Residents in Johannesburg and surrounding areas, including Mogale City, Lenasia South, have been without water since Tuesday. This after an explosion at Eikenhof substation led to a power outage and extensive water cuts. Hospitals and clinics, including old age homes, have been affected. Some learners were also turned away from school today. The city of Johannesburg has offered a 100,000 Rand reward in connection with what it says was sabotage. Mayor Herman Mashaba says that he's convinced from video footage that the fire started outside Eikenhof substation and that someone used oil to start the blaze. He says that law enforcement agencies are now investigating the matter.
All right, meanwhile, let's now take this discussion further on water around here, Johannesburg, and we are now joined by Johannesburg Water spokesperson Isaac Dhludhlu. Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for coming through.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much indeed. I had a conversation earlier on with City Power spokesperson Isaac Mangena, who gave us an assurance that power has been restored in all affected areas. Is it the case with water as well?
I can confirm that the power has been restored in all the affected areas. However, with water, it's still a work in progress, because you'll remember that unlike power, water, it takes a while for everything else to get back to normal, due to the complications of the network, because it's a 24,000 kilometers of network underground.
But people have been affected for days. If you were to, give us the numbers, maybe in terms of percentage, how far are we to that full restoration of water now?
I can also confirm that we have been monitoring the situation. This morning we had a crisis committee that has been monitoring the crisis that meets 3 times a day. In terms of restoration, I can also confirm that the greater part of the West Rand that gets a direct feed from Rand Water, they got their water early this morning around 4 a.m. Parts of Roodepoort, Vilgaheven, they've got water towards North Riding and Northgate. That one I can confirm. The other areas that are currently struggling right now, it's areas like Brixton and Hest Hill. Those are the 2 that are actually supplying around in this area, that we are still struggling with the pressure to make sure that we're able to provide service.
All right, but from where you're sitting, how long is it going to take for that full restoration? Because I think what our viewers want to hear is, when will water be back?
We are looking at about early hours of this evening, between 2000 hours and 2200 hours. And then also in the early hours of the morning tomorrow, whereby if we don't experience any air blockages or any complications of the system, because as the water comes back, it creates a lot of pressure in the system in terms of air that needs to be released through the air valves, and then as such, teams should be able to attend to such. And then we are hoping tomorrow morning the entire city, because it was almost 50% of the city that was affected about this outage.
But when such happens, Mr. Dhludhlu, do you not have a plan B in terms of, giving out waters to the affected areas? Because we're reporting now in the news that learners had to go back home because there was no water at schools. It's the case here for us at the SABC. I stopped at one of the food outlets this morning when driving to work. Shops are closed because there's no water. How does it work? Let
me also apologize, I guess, on behalf of Joburg Water in the city about this inconvenience. It's something that was beyond our control. But in terms of infrastructure, to make sure that we're able to assist where we can, remember we've got about 4 million consumers in the city of Johannesburg. In terms of the tankers that we have on site as Johannesburg Water, we don't have capacity to provide each and every one.
But do you not prioritize your essential services areas like your hospitals, your schools, perhaps your clinics and old age homes?
We had a task team that was actually working on those schools, your Brixton schools, your Horizon View, the hospitals, that are around the area. And then they had a roaming tanker that was specifically dedicated to them. And as and when they run out of water, that tanker will be then channeled to them to refill the water.
All right, but you giving us a guarantee that by tonight water will be restored in all affected areas? Is that a guarantee from Joburg Water?
With water sometimes we can say from where we are seated.
But what are the technicians? What are the technicians, your technicians on the ground say?
Yeah, we are meeting with the technician even now this afternoon, where they give us the status of each reservoir in terms of capacity. Each reservoir, for it to be open to the public, it needs to reach a certain level of capacity, and then once it's reached at least about 3 meters, we're able to pump the water. From what we spoke about this afternoon around 12 in the meeting, we then said the system should be able to be stabilized by early hours of tomorrow morning.
All right, so tomorrow morning, not tonight.
As and when, remember now, as the day goes by, the pressure builds and we're able to then open more reservoirs and people are starting getting water. But in terms of the full restoration of the system, we're looking at least tomorrow morning. Yes.
So will that water be safe to consume?
Most certainly. Remember, we get the water cleaned and also ready to consume from Randburg. We buy it from there as bulk water supplier for the city. So the water is ready to be consumed and there's nothing wrong with it.
All right, Mr. Dhludhlu, we'll leave it at that for now. Thank you so much for coming through.
Appreciate it.
All right, many thanks to Isaac Dhludhlu. He is a Joburg Water spokesperson, of course, giving us the update on the water cuts. As he had said, the guarantee is by tomorrow morning, water should be restored in all affected areas.